Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Cringy Movie Collection Podcast. And I'm your host, Ludovica, and this is my co-host, Raf.
Yeah, I'm here and present and not at all hosting.
Yes, he's not hosting today because usually we would review a movie from his teenage cringy movie collection, but once in a while we are going to review one of my childhood favorite movies to see how we compare with each other in our taste.
Is it a competition?
No, because
Okay.
I win. Today we're going to talk about the Walt Disney movie The Aristocats from 1970. From 1970.
So far, I'm hating this.
Why?
I don't know. I'm a control freak. I like when things go the way I want them to. I like it when the crucial information is not said wrong.
This is everything was right.
You said 1960.
I have problems with numbers.
You could have
And
written it down. That's what I
have
do.
Problems with numbers and words.
Yeah, those are major things that will be useful when you're doing a podcast.
I'm not good at talking, but I'm gonna try to host a podcast.
All right. So this is the special episode where we talk about a VHS originally.
Yes, it's a VHS. It comes in a very square box, and you open it, and it has tiny wheels.
For a second, I wanted to make fun of you for explaining what a VHS is, but I feel like maybe that's something you have to explain. So now I will make fun of you for the way you explain what a VHS is.
Why?
Because no one, like, it comes in a square box and there's tiny wheels isn't really helpful information. It's a tape.
It's like a giant cassette tape.
Yeah. So, The Aristocats. I know this is your favorite movie because you said it in the last episode.
Well, it's my favorite animated movie.
Okay, so how did it end up becoming that? How did you even first get to know this movie?
So, when I was a kid, I liked cartoons. And then
Unlike now.
I keep liking cartoons. And I collected a huge collection of Walt Disney cartoons because my dad used to travel a lot for work when I was younger. And it's something that is easily available when you're at the airport.
Okay, so you had a huge collection of Disney movies.
Yes.
Can you tell me, like, a few highlights? What kind of movies are in this collection?
Robin Hood, The Aristocats, 101 Dalmatians, Mulan,
Jungle Book?
they're much like the Jungle Book.
So it wasn't in the collection, or you don't like it?
Everything was in the collection.
Emperor's New Groove?
Yes,
Nice. Aladdin?
yes,
Lion King?
yes.
Very good. Okay. So
Everything,
Yeah.
yeah.
Everything that existed at the time. Any kind of, like, Pixar movies?
No,
It's all drawn animation.
yes.
Okay.
I really like hand-drawn cartoons, and I still very much like them, and they're rarer and rarer to find. And my favorite is the Aristocats because it has cats in it, and they look very, very fluffy, even though they're in 2D.
Did you know that Aristocats might be the last movie by Walt Disney Productions that was actually, like, greenlit by Walt Disney himself?
Wow!
But it came out, like, several years after
No.
he died. But it was like he had read the script, at least, the way it existed at the time. Anyway, that's trivia.
Yes, but...
Probably from Wikipedia, I gotta say.
Oh no, so it's not even accurate, maybe.
No, because obviously the kind of hard-hitting trivia is your job this time on the episode, because you're the one presenting this movie, so I don't have to research anything. I can bring Wikipedia
I did
level
all
knowledge.
the research for Pearl Harbor.
That was a task I gave you. You didn't give me a task, so...
Okay, I'm so lacking. I'm such a bad host. So now Raf is gonna tell us what's the plot of this movie.
Okay, I'm gonna try my best. I heard it's very difficult to do this concisely, but luckily this is not a very complicated movie. So, there's a rich old lady, her name is Madame, and she owns cats, specifically Duchess and her little kittens. And the Madame decides that she will leave all her possessions to the cats, and only once the cats die will these possessions go to her butler. However, the butler hears this and decides that he should get rid of the cats so that he can inherit quicker. And so that's what he tries to do. He captures the cats, he poisons them with a sleeping pill, and drives them out into the country. Specifically, the countryside of Paris, because that's where this movie is set. So the cats are in the wilderness, so to speak, and they have to try to find their way back to Paris and to Madame. In that situation, they meet a alley cat. His name is Thomas O'Malley, the alley cat. Very clever name, I suppose.
O'Malley the alley cat.
O'Malley, the alley cat, is kind of horny. He flirts with Duchess, and when he realizes she has kids, he's slightly less interested in her as it goes. But he agrees to help them find their way back to Paris, and with a bunch of different shenanigans, they eventually do make it. Amongst other things, they meet a band of jazzy cats, and they sing about how everybody wants to be a cat, and then they finally make it back. And O'Malley kind of suggests that Duchess could stay with him and they could be a family instead of going back to Madame, but she doesn't want to stay.
Because she knows that Madame loves them. And O'Malley thinks that it's like we just a pet. No,
that's true.
It's not, because Madame really loves her kittens.
Right, she leaves all her possessions to them. Anyway, so it doesn't quite work out, but O'Malley takes it like a champ. He brings them back and then leaves. However, something bad happens. Specifically, Duchess is immediately captured, and her kids are immediately captured by the butler, who puts them in a sack and wants to ship them to Timbuktu.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a big showdown at the end where O'Malley helps out, and there's a mouse detective, and he gets the jazzy cats involved as well. So everybody kind of converges in the stable, where the horse also, all the animals help, and so everybody they kind of
Such a cool movie.
they kind of fight the butler. What's the butler's name?
Edgar.
Edgar. They fight Edgar, and they put him in the box to Timbuktu, and so they ship him away. And then the cat family reunites with Madame, who decides to open a sanctuary for all Parisian alley cats. And this includes, of course, Thomas O'Malley, who now can be part of the family in the fancy house of the Aristocats. And everybody's happy. And everybody wants to be a cat.
And I'm the leader, and I say when the plot is over, and the plot is over.
That is right. So there are two dogs, hounds, I suppose, and they kind of have a side gig going on where they fight Edgar a bunch of times.
One is the bastard hound that has very long ears.
Those dogs, they're not really instrumental to the plot. They're kind of more there as like padding,
Comic
honestly.
relief, because we need it.
And it is vaguely funny. I think, but it does feel like its own little thing. They barely affect the plot of the movie at all. They actually feel almost, especially the second time they appear, it feels like an intermission, where it's like we're going off to this other adventure. And if you look at the history of the script, that's probably exactly what happened. They were like, we need more of the dogs because the dogs are funny. To put that in, like the first time the dogs appear, it's kind of an action scene. It mixes up what's going on. That's cool, because they appear when Edgar goes out into the countryside on his motorbike with the cats, and the dogs start chasing him. And there's kind of a little action scene where there's a looping underneath the bridge where they go into the water and they go in circles, and it's funny.
Yeah.
And then there's also a recurring joke. I think it's like Napoleon and Lafayette. Is that
Yes.
Those are the names? So Napoleon is the leader,
Yeah.
And he whenever Lafayette suggests that they should do something, he goes, "Now hold on a minute, I'm the leader, and I decide what we do." And then he waits for like a beat, classic movie beat, and then he goes, "We'll do exactly what Lafayette just suggested," but he pretends that it was his idea.
Yes,
and it's
I
just
really
kinda
like
cute, funny.
Napoleon.
And he has like the voice actor. I don't know his name because that's your job. But
I don't know any names.
the voice actor does a great job sounding like, I don't know. He does like a "oh, hold on a minute," like he's very slow and deliberate, and I like it. So I don't mind them, but I feel like they're not well integrated into the movie.
I think that most of the other animals seems like, let's put other cute animals in, since we did such a great job with the cats.
And they're all kind of inconsequential to the fate of the cats.
Yeah.
Does the mouse detective achieve anything?
Yes, he goes and calls the alley cats, and it's funny because then they almost eat him.
I thought the scene was stupid. Maybe because it's so predictable. It's a joke for kids, and as such it works. But it didn't do much for me.
I really liked the mouse when I was a kid. Actually, now that I saw it again after a while, O'Malley is the one that let me down a little bit more. It's the one that looks less soft, and he has a huge neck.
Yeah.
And you know what it is soft like a cat? The softest fabric known to man.
I'm gonna cut all this out.
It's MeAndy's like code cringe, and you're gonna get a discount on your first onesie.
Don't worry, it's all edited out.
Okay. Also, please like and share this podcast with your friends, so we can all be cats. I am curious to know, what did you think about the animations?
I like hand-drawn animation very much, and I thought this was stylistically interesting because it's this little bit more old school, and I think it has pros and cons. But what I really like is that this is like draw animation that is meant to look like it's drawn, so you can like there's no like singular lines. Everything is 15 lines that converge at some point, so it looks a little bit more like it's a sketched drawing rather than a comic book drawing, which usually is a sketch that you then refine, which is what the later Disney animated movies were. Something like The Lion King, you have very, very clear lines and everything is very defined, and also the coloring is more intense. And this is a lot more like you're looking almost at actual drawings on a table, and I really appreciate that. Like there's a lot of charm to that because it means that you have very constant kind of flickering around the edges of everything, because all of these lines kind of shift a little bit with every frame. I think that is very charming. Sometimes it looks a little unfinished, but it's a style choice, so like it's supposed to look that way, and I think it's cool.
I don't even think it's a style choice. I think that it's what was they were able to do at the time.
Maybe it's a cost factor, but it's not that it couldn't be done more. Like it's just like this is how a lot of these movies looked. The other thing that I noticed, in contrast to sort of the Disney Renaissance animated movies, is that the backgrounds in this looked a lot closer stylistically to the animated characters that move in front of them. I really appreciated that. I always thought, even though I love Aladdin, that all the backgrounds look incredibly different from the animated characters. They look more like painted backgrounds, whereas here it looks like drawn and then colored in backgrounds.
So we agree, because I really like seeing the little lines of the drawings, like it's really a moving drawing, and I think that it makes everything more fluffy. And when newer cartoons came out, I like the brighter colors, but they look less fluffy in some way.
Let's talk about the sound of this movie. I thought it was interesting that, compared especially to kind of the soundscape of animated movies today, it's a lot louder and a lot kind of busier than the way this movie sounds, where it's almost like you can hear every single sound effect as it happens. Like, most notable it is in the scene where Edgar and the dogs encounter each other the second time, because it's also supposed to be like they're sleeping and it's night and there's not a lot of sounds going on. And so
it goes dun 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 dun.
you can hear every single like footstep and yawn and everything. Every voice line is almost the only thing that's playing, which I thought was unusual. It felt thin to me, not necessarily bad. You know, it's like one of those things where you go like, oh, this is also a way you could do it, but I'm not used to it. I thought that was interesting. And then the other thing, of course, is this is a musical, and you always need to... I don't know. I always have to say this. Look, I don't like musicals, and the reason why I don't like musicals is not because it's per se a bad idea to have songs in your film, but because musical numbers are often an easy way of telling instead of showing, right? Like, you have characters just sing their motivations instead of having a scene that shows you how people feel and things like that, right? So, generally speaking, I don't like it when that happens. This movie, it's on the sort of positive side of the scale, though, because for the most part, these songs seem pretty organic. Most notably the Everybody Wants to Be a Cat thing, because that just seems like they show up and there's a cat who also happens to be a band leader and they're making music and everybody joins in. And in fact, afterwards, one of the baby cats goes to bed and he's still excited from, you know, having participated in that. And so he goes like, everybody wants to be a cat. Like, he's still reciting the lyrics. And I think that kind of thing, you get away with that. I still sometimes feel like it's a little tedious to watch musical numbers, because it's just like, it's like I'm waiting for it to be over so the story can continue. It's like action scenes that aren't engaging, you know. Mm-hmm. But this movie didn't have a lot of songs. It had like 4 songs, I feel.
It has definitely 3 songs. There is the first song in which they actually starts with the cats
something
practice.
Arpeggios.
Yeah, it's practicing piano, so that's also pretty organic. Then we have O'Malley the Alley Cat.
I think that works too, because he's not aware that anyone is watching. He's just walking down the road singing to himself. Works, I think.
Yeah, then we have Everybody Wants to Be a Cat.
That's just a house party.
And then there is like the other song is just the opening and ending song.
Which works too.
It's like the Aristocats.
There's a reprise maybe of Everybody Wants to Be a Cat at the very end as well. So for the most part, these songs work organically. So I'm fine with it.
I do like Disney song by themselves most of the time.
Yeah. You listen to the songs from Aristocats on their own?
No, this is like the point. This is just like a movie that has its song in it. But for example, I have never seen Frozen, but I listen to Frozen songs.
Do you think that musical songs have kind of changed? Like, you know, the focus is now maybe on writing catchy songs that can stand on their own, and a lot less on how they're integrated into a story and into a presentation, because that's the point. They're not really integrated into the story anymore. They're just integrated in the presentation.
And so I think that now there is a big, like the princesses and then the movies after that, they had amazing vocals. While this movie didn't have like out of the world vocals. It was normal, regular vocals.
Could it also be a little bit just style, like historical style? Like, if you listen to songs in a musical from the 70s, that is also about jazz in some ways. Like, obviously, because I don't listen to jazz and I'm not interested in jazz, obviously some of it, like some of the choices, because surely they are choices. It's not that they randomly just put people like, go sing. Like, they also had like dual casting to have singing voices and things like that. So they put a lot of effort into this, but they made it sound a certain way because that's what they at the time like thought audiences would respond to as well.
I don't know much about the vocals because I think that, for example, the piano of that song is very in their time. It's what they would like. It seems very believable to be like just a 70s jam session. But I think that because nowadays here I think it was very clear that the kittens were kids and they were kids singing. While now they just take women with a high-pitched voice singing amazingly instead of a kid.
Yeah, that's true. That's an interesting aspect of voice casting, is that how do you convey youth? Because you don't have to have someone who looks like a kid now. There are all these additional sort of possibilities that open up to you when you don't have to have the likeness of a child or a kitty in that situation. So I don't know. Like, I mean, obviously we can talk about animation for another 15 hours, but I think the classic thing is the musical, the animated musical, because I don't know. Is there like, maybe there's a statistic out there somewhere, but I would wager like some money that like a majority of musicals coming out right now are animated movies. It's just like where they went.
Oh, yes, that they like now they in the movie theaters there are not musicals with people in it.
Live action musicals, I mean, they exist, but they're not
Yes.
as common as animated musicals.
Yeah, I think that they are in theaters, but not many people go and watch a musical with people.
Yeah.
With people singing, I don't even remember the last one.
Cats.
Oh my gosh.
No wonder no one goes to watch them.
In the song Everybody Likes to Be a Cat, speaking of songs again, I was so sad that now it's aged badly because there is a little bit of a racist cat.
Disney Plus has put like a content warning
Really?
that there's some inappropriate, representation on there.
Of Asian people or Asian
Yeah,
cats?
there's racist cat who is yellow faced and uses chopsticks
To play the piano.
Yeah.
And
Is it the piano or drums?
it plays a lot of things, but
Everything is played with
everything is with
chopsticks.
chopsticks. And, like, definitely he uses to play the piano, but also, yes, he uses also to play the cymbals.
Yeah.
And it
This
feels
seems-
more organic because drums you have to have the sticks. So
This seems like, this would work as a, borderline joke at like a grown-up comedy show. This just feels really wrong in a kid's movie. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like you could do something, like you could make a joke about a Chinese person who uses chopsticks for everything. It would probably be inappropriate, but maybe if you frame it correctly, you could get away with it. But in this context, it feels really wrong.
yeah.
And it is the thing that I hated about this movie. If we want to get to those questions, like while we're at it.
Okay.
It's just, in a children's movie, I don't want this shit. Like, I don't want you to indoctrinate people with these stupid stereotypes. Even if it's one of those things that's racist, there was no ill intention behind it, but, that's like saying, like, if you blindly swing a knife around you and you hit someone unintentionally, you still hit someone.
Yeah, and like a milder stereotype, if we want to call it this way, would be that the drunken goose is British.
Yeah,
The geese are British.
that one is also kind of annoying because it's completely like they could have just not had that in the movie.
Yeah.
And it was kind of uncomfortable because they made fun of drunk people. Like, this guy has an alcohol problem and we're going, ha ha ha. Like, again, show this to children, and they will just learn that it's like funny to drink too much.
Well, what I thought when I was watching it as a child was like, because the goose is drunk because it was marinated in wine.
Basted.
Marinated.
Okay.
No, they make this joke. That the goose should have been basted in wine, but by the looks of it,
Oh,
it
yeah, you're right.
looked more marinated.
Yeah.
And I thought, humans are so bad. Not only we eat animals, but we also make them drunk.
Yeah.
For me, it was...
What did you hate?
I do think that I hate the drunken goose also.
Well, you say also, I hated racist.
Okay. I hate the drunken goose because, as I told you before, when I was a child, my favorite meat to eat when I was going out with my parents was duck, and then I stopped.
Okay, well, now that you don't eat duck anymore, let's move on to what you
Yes.
absolutely loved about this movie. What's the highlight?
I really like all the kittens. I like that one, especially the male ones, and one is a pianist and one is a painter. I like two scenes in particular. Like, I think that the orange kitten, his name is Toulouse. It's my favorite. Like, it's what I love the most about this movie. It's like the cutest thing ever, because when he paints, he just puts his paws everywhere and makes a huge mess.
Specifically, he puts his paws in paint.
He paints
And then
and
walks
then he
around.
paints, but then also after he stops painting, he walks around with his paws all full of paint, and it's amazing. And Toulouse tries to be an alley cat, and he gets all fluffy, and he tries to be scary, but he gets even cuter.
They kind of spits.
Yes,
It's a little weird.
yeah.
Yeah, it's cute.
He doesn't spit like a man.
That's a Titanic thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And another of my favorite Toulouse moment is when they do the train, and it's a very good
When they
train.
do the train?
Yes, the kittens, they have to walk on the train
yeah.
tracks, and they become a train.
They play train.
Yes.
Yeah,
And Toulouse is the best locomotive ever.
yeah. Very cute.
Yes. What do you love about this movie?
I just love that this is a movie about cats. I don't know, like I said this about Lion King as well. Like, I don't care about, an animated remake of Hamlet. But I enjoy
No.
watching these cats. Like, it's like, and it's the same here. I don't really care about jazz. And I also think that the story isn't particularly engaging. It's super simple. It's like Mad Max Fury Road. They go in a circle. They go somewhere to go back. Like, that's the story of this movie, right? And obviously there's some emotional beats there, specifically, like Duchess and O'Malley, who maybe, are horny. But other than that, it's very simple. But, I'm happy to watch 80 minutes of these super cute cats.
I love that the drawer, like the artist, when they portray like Duchess and O'Malley being interested in each other, they kept the physical language of cats being horny, and you can see like really much of a like exposing the path and like rolling around like when cats are horny and trying to mate, and it's very accurate. Like they really move like cat would move.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I didn't have any pets, and I really wanted a pet and a cat. And I liked that Madame was an old lady, but she didn't have like any family, like she didn't have kids and stuff. But she had her cats, and she was happy with them. And I don't know, I was kind of a weird kid and a weird teenager. I never really had any interest in socializing with humans, but I had a lot of interest in socializing with animals. And so it was like a role model to me that you can be old and happy and alone with all your cats. I wanted to be like
Cat
her.
lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Madame isn't much of a character, is she?
No.
She's an old lady who likes cats.
And she has the cats and she treats them right. Like they have the kind of cat bed next to her bed.
Yeah.
And Duchess has all these different colors, and she let them make a mess with all the colors and the sounds.
Yeah. What do you think about kind of the class theme in this? Because it's called the Aristocats. And it is a very rich lady who's taking care of the fancy cats. And then there's this contrast to the alley cats. Because I feel almost like this is not explored all that much. It's just kind of put there, like in title, in names, but there's not a lot of actual exploration of class. And maybe it's because it's like a fucked up thing you don't want to have in your kids' movie.
I think I never really thought about it much. Like, I just think that the difference was between being pet cats and unpet cats. But
Yeah.
O'Malley, like, doesn't trust Madame to be really, that she really loves them.
It doesn't seem to be the point of the movie, yet it is called the Aristocats. I think that's strange. You know what I mean? Like, that's a class, like a play on a class term, like aristocracy, right?
Yeah.
Which is not really at the core of this movie. Like, you know, like, do you think the Aristocats is a great title for this?
No.
You could call this movie Everybody Wants to Be a Cat.
It's too much. It's too long. So please comment on what would you call this movie, and also how would you portray a class fight within the context of these kitty stories.
Okay.
And we read all of your comments, and please, again, share this podcast with your friends and your cats.
I wouldn't even know where to go to read comments, so...
Why?
Why? Because this podcast isn't airing anywhere.
But we will read your comments.
Okay.
And we appreciate them. Please get in touch with us, and you will find all of our details in the description box below.
Is my phone going to randomly ring and it's like... I listen to your podcast, and I think
No, we will
it
just
should be called
see
O'Malley the Alley Cat.
cats shenanigans. You will get our social media handles. Should I keep this movie in my VHS movie collection, or should I discard it?
Do you still actually have a VHS movie collection? Because, just to be clear, we didn't watch the VHS of this.
No, we didn't watch.
Copy.
But I know that in my original house where I grew up, they are still all the movies.
Okay, so here's the thing. The movie should remain in your collection. You should not maintain a VHS collection. You don't even have an ability to play back VHS, do you?
In my original house where I grew up, there is a VHS reader.
Okay. Nevertheless, get a hard drive, you know.
Okay.
or get Disney Plus, I suppose.
I will update my mean of watching movies, but until next time.
I also have to say, this movie, maybe I feel similar about this as you felt about Robots, which is, this is a good movie. You enjoy your time, but I don't think I ever want to watch this again. Like, it is very shallow.
Yeah, me too. Now I have a cat. I don't need to watch this movie to watch cats.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, I didn't have the internet. I didn't have access to hours and hours of cat videos. And this is what I had, and this made me happy.
It's not outstanding in any way, but it is a cat movie, so,
Well,
you know. Like,
my next Ludovica pick will be with more depth.
Oh. It will be an animated
I will
movie.
make you an offer that you can't refuse.
Oh, no. Okay.
But next time it's not a pick of mine, it's a pick of Raph.
Yeah, I thought, so originally I thought, you know, I will bring up Titanic like every other episode.
And we managed this episode too.
Yeah. So it would be funny if we just never watched Titanic until the very end of the collection, I suppose. But because Titanic is back in cinemas in February 2023, I feel like it's just appropriate to go watch it in the cinema. And so next time on the podcast, we'll discuss Titanic.
Until next time, meow, 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 meow.
That, what?
That's a cat.
Okay.
Meow, meow.
All right. I mean, you want to keep going?
I think you should meow too. Meow, meow, meow. Oh.
You think? Can we just keep talking over the outro music like this?
Yeah, let's
Nice.
do it.
I mean, we're already doing it. It's already happening.
Meow, 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 meow.